At 0619 local time, the morning over the Gulf felt routine, controlled, deliberate, almost predictable. On the flight deck of the USS Abraham Lincoln, steel and fire moved in practiced rhythm, 2,000-pound statements of policy being launched into the horizon, one after another. Below decks, operators tracked patterns, not threats. The day had the quiet confidence of a machine that believed it understood its enemy. That illusion shattered in a single sentence. An orbiting E-2 Hawkeye cut through the calm with a voice that carried no uncertainty, 4 inbound ballistic missile signatures, accompanied by dozens of additional air contacts. No ambiguity, no time to question, just the cold reality of incoming weapons already committed to their path. Seconds became currency. On board the USS Spruance, the radar display bloomed with contacts 30 low-altitude objects crawling out of the coastal haze, moving south at barely 100 knots. Cheap, slow, but deadly enough. 90 miles to the east, the USS Michael Murphy saw 28 more painting across its own scopes. The tactical action officer aboard Spruance didn't hesitate. 4 seconds was all it took to classify the threat one-way attack drones. Disposable machines carrying just enough explosive to tear open critical systems. Individually insignificant, collectively lethal. The ship's speakers roared to life. General quarters. General quarters. All hands man your battle stations. The words hit like a physical force. Hatches slammed shut in rapid succession. Sailors ran, not in panic, but in the controlled urgency of training burned into muscle memory. The ship transformed in seconds from vessel to weapon. Above the deck, an MH-60 Romeo helicopter tore into the sky, banking east, Hellfires armed, its crew already scanning for targets. Electronic warfare teams began shaping the battlefield in invisible ways, projecting false signatures, bending perception itself. The ship wasn't just defending, it was deceiving. At 9 miles, Spruance's main gun came alive. The Mk-45 fired with a rhythm that echoed through the hull, each round detonating in airbursts, designed not to hit, but to erase. 2 drones vanished instantly. Another staggered, crippled, but still pushing forward. The count dropped, slowly, but not fast enough. Then the surface radar broke the pattern. Fast movers, bearing 085, 40 knots inbound. Iranian fast attack craft. The geometry of the fight collapsed into chaos. The main gun faced north toward the drones. The boats were charging from the east. There was no perfect solution, only choices that traded one risk for another. The ship turned hard, cutting through the water at flank speed, throwing a wall of turbulence behind it. The goal wasn't destruction, it was disruption. Break the formation, scatter the attack, buy time. Time was everything now. The Mk-38 cannon found the lead boat, tracers stitching across the water before detonating its engine housing. The helicopter struck another with surgical precision. The rest broke formation, hesitation creeping into what had been a coordinated assault. But the pattern was repeating. On the Michael Murphy, the same call came seconds later, fast attack craft approaching from a different direction. Another commander faced the same impossible decision: drones or boats, air or sea, immediate threat or potential catastrophe. He chose the boats, because a single explosive-laden craft reaching the hull would end everything. The drones were left to secondary weapons, machine guns, automated systems, anything that could hold the line just a little longer. And then, for a moment, it seemed like they might succeed. Drones fell, boats burned, the immediate threats began to thin. 4 seconds of breathing space. Then came the word that changed everything. Vampire. 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 The call echoed across both destroyers. Anti-ship missiles? They had been there the entire time, unseen. A coastal battery had spent nearly an hour silently tracking the ships, building a firing solution without ever revealing itself. The drones and boats hadn't been the attack. They had been the distraction. The real strike was already inbound. 4 missiles, sea skimming, moving just under the speed of sound, low enough to hide in the curvature of the Earth, fast enough to leave almost no margin for error. Every system shifted instantly. Missiles launched from vertical cells, radar beams locking on, chaff exploding into the air to create false targets. Ships maneuvered violently, presenting the smallest possible signature. The sky turned into a layered battlefield of signals, steel, and split-second decisions. Spruance fired first 3 SM-2 interceptors racing outward. The radar illuminators danced between targets, guiding each missile in rapid succession. One by one, the incoming threats disappeared in flashes on the horizon. Murphy's engagement was uglier. Too many targets, too little time. The radar beams couldn't stay fixed long enough. Every shift meant blindness, even if only for a second. One missile connected cleanly. Another almost slipped through. More interceptors launched, correcting, adjusting, gambling. At 6 miles, the final threats disintegrated. Both ships remained intact, but they had paid for it in time, in attention, in focus. And above them, the true danger continued its descent. 4 ballistic warheads, tracked since the beginning, now entering terminal phase. Mach 5 and accelerating. Untouchable, at least for them. What neither crew knew was that a third ship had been watching the entire battle in silence. USS Frank E. Peterson Jr., a ballistic missile defense destroyer, positioned to do one thing and one thing only: wait. Inside its combat information center, the tension had been building not through action, but restraint. Every engagement, every threat, every distraction had been observed, catalogued, understood, but ignored, because their fight hadn't started yet. Now it had 5 missiles launched in rapid succession, SM-3 interceptors, designed not for atmosphere, but for space. They climbed violently, breaking free of gravity's grip before releasing their payloads, kinetic kill vehicles guided by pure mathematics and precision. Above the clouds, above the air, the engagement became something else entirely. No explosions, no fire, just impact. 3 warheads disappeared in clean, surgical intercepts. The 4th changed. At 70,000 feet, it split. A decoy peeled away, slowing deliberately, trying to draw the interceptor off course. But the system had seen this before. It ignored the deception, adjusted, struck the real target. 4 of 4. The threat vanished. And for the first time since 0619, the strike group exhaled. But the moment didn't last, because now it was their turn. The launch coordinates had been known from the beginning. The origin of the attack had never been a mystery, only unreachable until now. 2 FA-18 Super Hornets launched from the Lincoln, followed by an EA-18 Growler. The strike package moved fast, low, and silent, shielded by a wall of electronic interference that blinded any radar trying to see them. They crossed into enemy airspace unnoticed. The search began. Somewhere on a coastal highway, the launch vehicles were moving heavy transporter erector launchers, carrying the capability to repeat the attack. They couldn't be allowed to disappear. Infrared sensors scanned the ground, searching for residual heat, then contact. A faint thermal signature, then another. 4 vehicles, moving toward a tunnel complex. A sanctuary. Once inside, they would vanish. Time compressed again. Fuel calculations. Distance. Threats. Then movement in the trees. A missile launched from the ground. No warning. No radar signature. Just a streak of heat climbing toward the aircraft. Flares deployed instantly. The missile followed the deception and detonated harmlessly against the hillside. But it cost them. Seconds lost. Position compromised. The window was closing. 1 pilot remained in position. 2 threats on the ground. 90 seconds before the targets disappeared, He didn't wait. He rolled into the attack. The targeting system locked onto the lead vehicles. Ground crews scattered, abandoning their equipment in the realization that they had been found. Weapons released. 2 bombs fell, guided with absolute precision. The impacts tore the valley apart. Secondary explosions followed, fuel igniting, vehicles disintegrating. The second aircraft returned just in time to finish what remained. More bombs. More destruction. The tunnel entrance came into view. Empty. Nothing made it inside. The mission was complete. The aircraft turned south, fuel gauges dropping into warning zones. Behind them, the electronic warfare aircraft held its position just long enough to ensure their escape, then withdrew. By the time they crossed back over the Gulf, there was nothing left worth jamming. The morning had begun with confidence. It ended with a message. Not just that the attack had failed, but that every move, every layer, every deception had been seen, countered, and answered. And somewhere along that coastline, the cost of that realization was still burning.